Albany, New York, the fate of the city is in our hands. We present your candidates for the next mayor of the city of Albany. Your vote matters.
Our moderator for tonight is Mr. Andrew Needhart, and he is the founder and president of Walkable Albany, and he will be our moderator for tonight. And he will go over the ground rules that our candidates have signed and have agreed to. Thank you.
Let's have a round of applause for Ms. Beverly Ivy for all she's done to make this event happen tonight. Good evening and welcome to the Meet the Candidates for Albany Mayor Forum. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. This event is co-sponsored by a long list of organizations that do a lot to make our community a better place. That includes the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Mu Omega Chapter, the Albany District Chapter of the Lynx Incorporated, Capital Area Urban League, CAUL, the Albany Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the League of Women Voters of Albany County, the Capital District Chapter of the National Pan-Hellenic Council, the Council of Albany Neighborhood Associations, CANA, Top Ladies of Distinction, Walkable Albany, Capital Streets, and Albany Bicycle Coalition. My name is Andrew Needhart. I'm the founder and president of Walkable Albany. We're an organization dedicated to promoting walkable development and pedestrian safety. I would like to take a moment to ask everybody to ensure that we don't have undue interruptions tonight, to please silence your electronic devices if you haven't already. As Ms. Beverly Ivy said, I will be your moderator for tonight's event, and it's my pleasure to welcome the panelists and introduce them to you. So I'll start immediately to my left is the Honorable Carolyn McLaughlin, the Honorable Dorsey Pliers, Honorable Corey Ellis, and Mr. Dan Cerruti. And we're going to hear from all of them in just a moment, which is what you're here for. But first, we're going to go over a few ground rules for tonight's program so that everybody knows what to expect. First, each panelist will have the opportunity to give a 2-minute introduction. After the introductions, panelists will respond to questions that were sent in advance to the organizing groups. The panelists have not seen the questions in advance, and they've been compiled by a committee. All panelists' answers will be time limited to 2 minutes for each question. Our timekeeper from the League of Women Voters from Albany is in the front row in full view of the panelists and of everybody, and will hold up a placard letting each panelist know when their time has 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and then time to stop speaking. We've got 30 minutes allocated for the panelists to answer the questions that were sent in advance and compiled, and then we'll transition to a question and answer segment. So this is where all of you come in, so listen up if you've been tuning out. If you have a question for the panelists, you can raise your hand, and there will be people who can bring you a note card if there's a topic that you would like to bring up that hasn't been brought up yet. We're going to try not to retread ground, so in the interest of time, if there are multiple questions about the same topic, we're just going to read one on that topic and allow the candidates to respond. So even if you submitted a question and didn't get answered, the candidates will hopefully be addressing that topic to the extent that we can, given the allotted time, which is limited. The candidates and I met earlier, just before this, to decide the order and how they would be seated, to present their opening statements and to answer questions. And they are all in agreement with these ground rules. So now we are ready to begin, and we will begin with Carolyn McLaughlin.
Good evening, everyone. I sit here tonight as the second of 4 generations that have lived in the city of Albany. My parents owned a grocery store in the south end of Albany, where they operated that grocery store for 25 years. I grew up between the south end and Arbor Hill sections of the city of Albany. It was in that grocery store that I learned what it was like and what it meant to provide good customer service, what it was like to be polite, respectful of any and every person that was actually contributing to my livelihood. My father taught me, you be good to my customers so that they will be good to you. And if you can't smile, go home. Go in the back, because you're not going home. So you go in the back until you can smile. So what I learned was what it meant to give back to a community that was giving me so much. My parents did not have the benefit of a college education, certainly not a doctoral degree, but they certainly could have run any corporation in this country because they ran a home of 8 children. And if you are a parent, you know what that's like. And it was in that environment that I learned to give back to my community, that I have learned to make sure that when I'm giving service to my community, I have learned that it is an opportunity that has been afforded me as a leader in this community. This is a privilege. This is an honor. And I sit here tonight asking you to hear what I have to say so that I can become the 76th mayor of the city of Albany, giving back to a community that has given me so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Dorcia Pleers.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank the host for this opportunity. Everybody has their own unique Albany story. Mine started 21 years ago with an acceptance letter I received from the University at Albany. And so I packed up my Toyota Tercel and headed up to Albany to attend graduate school and really thought that this would be a 2-year stop. My friend in the audience, Willie White, has to remind us that you don't have to be from a place to make a difference in a place. And for the last 21 years, that has been my mission, to make a difference in this city as this city has made a difference in me. I am someone who has a track record of leading with my values, and those values were shaped by the people who raised me. My grandmother was a waitress for 50 years. My grandfather was a janitor who cleaned toilets and floors. My mom, a single mom of 4, a DC beat cop. And my father's mother, who was a beautician for 50 years. They instilled in us the importance of hard work, integrity, and service to others, and that laid the foundation for my service to this city. I'm running for mayor because I have such a deep appreciation for Albany. I moved here, received a quality education, met my husband here, fell in love. We're raising our 2 girls. I believe in our city, despite our challenges, and I'm committed to our city's future. I look forward to talking more about my vision on how we collectively will move our city forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Ellis.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. My story in Albany began when my family decided to migrate to Albany. Like many families in the South, they were part of that Great Migration. I had the pleasure of reading a book some years ago about the Great Migration. And after reading that book, I took pride in knowing the sacrifice and the things that our parents did and our family did to make sure that we had a better life. And that's what I've done in the city of Albany since I came back home. I tried to bring back to those neighborhoods, to create a neighborhood that thrives and not just survives. I've always given back. I've worked for many non-for-profits because I knew those families, the people participating at those services needed those services. And Trinity Institution is where I started my first career as working for non-for-profits. And so I was blessed to be there because it was a community center that I went to when I was a child. And it was struggling when I got there. And we were able to save the Trinity Institution and look at it today. It's called Trinity Alliance, and it's doing great things in the South End. So I was happy to be a part of that. I was happy to be a part of that growth of a community center that had given so much to me and so much to many, many families in the city of Albany. So as running for mayor, that is what I will continue to do. Continue to remember those family members, the young people who grow up in our neighborhoods that want to thrive and want to be successful and want to live in a neighborhood where they can come back and be proud to call home. So I'm proud to be here tonight, and I look forward to all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Cerruti.
I'd like to thank everybody also for joining us tonight and you guys for putting this together. I like what Carolyn said. I'm the 4th generation of 6 in Albany. My parents, my great-grandfather came here in the late 1890s. We're a family of bricklayers and folks who build things. My mother was a waitress. I grew up in Albany, the oldest of 6. Went to college, married my wife, who was also from Albany, and we began traveling around the country. We lived in 7 different cities, raised our 4 children, came back 9 years ago, I've got a lot of experience running companies. I've been a CEO 5 times. I've done a wide variety of projects and had opportunities to tackle complex problems, to bring people together. And about 3 years ago, people began to approach me about what we might do for Albany from an economic development point of view. What can we do to put something in Liberty Square? How do we attract investors? How do we generate jobs? And that kind of thing. And I began to walk around to try to understand from people. So I've since talked to over 1,000 people one-on-one and several of you in this room. And I think we have so much opportunity in this city. We're a great city. We have great people. We now have the state helping us. We have nothing but opportunity. And I'm prepared to bring my experience of bringing people together, making decisions, getting things done to Albany. And I'm proud to run for mayor of this city. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you to all the candidates. We're going to move on to the question and answer round now from our bank, our bank of pre-submitted questions. The first question is about housing. Homelessness has been on the rise across New York State, including in Albany. Between 2022 and 2024, Albany County saw a 28% increase in homelessness, with many of those individuals located in the city of Albany. Do you believe that housing is a human right? And if so, as mayor, what would you do to actualize that right? And in addition to that, what do you think are the barriers to increasing the supply of affordable housing in Albany, both for renters and homeowners? What should the city do to remove these barriers, to preserve and build more quality affordable housing while protecting existing tenants? And we will start with Dorcia Pleers.
Thank you. So on the topic of increasing housing and affordable housing, I am someone who believes that housing is a human right. And in order to increase housing, we have to level set first. As Chief City Auditor, I currently serve as the city's Chief City Auditor. I am conducting a housing audit so that we can assess our housing portfolio. I often say that not having baseline data and just talking about a housing crisis, it really is, it's like shadow boxing a ghost. And so this audit will give us the data that we need to get a handle on our housing stock and portfolio so that we can accurately address our housing problem. In addition, level setting, we have to improve public safety. People will not invest in a city that feels unsafe. And to level set, improve our existing housing stock. We have so many blighted properties in our city that need TLC and investment. And so prior to talking about increasing additional investments and bringing on new development, we have to improve the housing stock that we currently have. I'll also mention leveraging the $400 million investment from our governor and the state legislature, in particular the $200 million for revitalizing downtown. We should leverage those funds to increase housing, mix income housing from low income housing to workforce housing to market rate. And then lastly, on the topic of barriers, one, we need capital and investment. In order to invest in the city, developers have to want to invest. And so what this audit will allow us to do is look at those barriers and challenges that prevent us. Is it the current inclusionary zoning legislation? So with the audit, we'll have baseline data to make that determination.
Thank you. Corey Ellis.
Thank you. When we look at affordable housing, we know we're having trouble with that throughout the country, not just in the city of Albany. Part of my plan about what I would do is when it comes to affordable housing is, as we know, in New York State, we have this imbalance. And one of the things that the state legislature is looking at is something that I championed a long time ago, where you begin first to look at taxing the land instead of the property. If the state passed that law, it will allow us to invest in more affordable housing in certain neighborhoods. Also, looking at, when we're talking about affordable housing, I believe under my administration, we'll have a housing bond that will entice investors and developers to want to invest in our most challenged neighborhoods. Because sometimes when we look at a development, a bank development in certain neighborhoods won't allow that will not do those funds for that neighborhood. And so we need to make sure that in our most challenged neighborhoods where we do need affordable housing, that there's an incentive to build affordable housing in those neighborhoods. We all know the South End and Arbor Hill and West Hill. Look at it. It's been declining for over 40 years, and we're still talking about affordable housing in those neighborhoods. We're still talking about building up those neighborhoods. There's something wrong. The city has to come in with an investment as well. We just can't look at the state. The state is doing its part. That is the first initial investment, but the city needs to have skin in the game as well. And we need to make sure we target those neighborhoods and do whatever we can to make sure we can show that your investment in these neighborhoods would be a good investment, not just for the people, but for yourself, and it will finally revive these neighborhoods like we like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Cerruti.
I think most of us know that we have housing challenges across the board in our city. I do believe it's the government's responsibility to help across the board. We have on the way to 400 people who do not have permanent homes. We need to expand the capacity of beds in our city for those folks and then help them get on their feet and eventually get into permanent housing. We have a crisis of a bit on the low end with affordable housing and subsidized housing. I think in the short term, we need to roll back the inclusionary zoning that we did. We can ratchet it back up over time, but we have to make sure that investors are willing to invest in our city. We've lost some of that. Across the board, in market rate housing, we simply don't have enough. We can expand that capacity. And then finally, and I think as important as anything, we have to help people get into homes in the neighborhoods they want to live in. There are federal grants that are available. We need to do more work with that. And we have to help people do that. This is not something that's easy. There is now a lot of money in the governor's budget. So that's our responsibility. We've got zoning opportunities to help relative to zoning. Across the board, the money that's going to come from the state needs to be directed at some level into housing. And that's something the city can drive. We have to help the people who want to invest in our city get the housing in the places where it belongs. We might be able to spend some money to help refurbish some of these properties that we have in the neighborhoods where people want to live. And so I believe this is a priority for us. It has to stay a priority. It will take a long time, but we have to stay on this because it's the only way to drive down the cost of housing is to increase the supply. And so this should be a priority of all of ours for a number of years.
Thank you. Carolyn McLaughlin.
Whether you are 5 or 95, you need affordable housing. Whether you're a young individual who just got your first job and you've decided that you want to live in the city of Albany, you need affordable housing. If you're a senior, if you're a family that wants to set down roots in the city of Albany, you need affordable housing. But there are barriers that exist. Access to financing is a major barrier to affordable housing in the city of Albany. But there are opportunities that exist that we are missing. If you look at the vacant and abandoned buildings that we have in the city of Albany, I see that as an opportunity to go in. Those individuals who own that property, if they are not going to do anything, give it to us. Give it to us. Maybe there's some ideas that we can come up with, such as there's a program from FHA called 203K, where you can bring individuals in with a contractor, financing opportunities, financial literacy for training for potential homeowners so that you can put them in a home, teach them how to stay in that home. Because it's one thing, you've been renting for 2 decades and now all of a sudden you're a homeowner, there's some things that you need to know. So I think that's one of the barriers that we have, financing, access to financing and lack of knowledge. Also, there are opportunities that we need to look at in terms of looking at those buildings that we have and getting them back on the tax rolls. We're making it too easy for property owners to just pay a little fine, maybe $1,000, and they can continue to have vacant and abandoned buildings in our city. We've got to hit them in their purses so that we can utilize that housing stock to turn Albany into a city where people want to live, where people choose to make this place their home.
Thank you. The next question relates to public service, and the first to answer will be Corey Ellis. Can you describe a community service project you've personally been involved in here in the city of Albany in the last 5 years that you have personally enjoyed and that you think has had a positive impact on the community?
Public or private? Well, there's the building, creating the Albany Black Chamber of Commerce has had a positive effect on the city of Albany. We took an abandoned building that was abandoned, a historic building, and we created a home for first Albany Black Chamber of Commerce. Doing that, it created space for African Americans and African Americans to have a space where they can come, gather, have seminars, learn about how to open up a business, how to start a business, and space where they can begin their business, incubator space where they can have their business. So being a part of that and seeing that grow, it was a vision of my mentor, McKinley Jones, who used to be vice president of the NAACP. And so he implanted that vision in myself and a couple other individuals about starting the Black Chamber of Commerce. So it took 15 years, but we finally seen the fruit of that vision that he instilled in me and that we never gave up on. So I'm proud to be a part of that project because I see the building is being used properly, and we know that that building for years will be used for the community, by the community, and there's some good things that will come out that will branch off being in that building and seeing those businesses grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Cerruti.
I think I have historically taken a slightly different approach to these kinds of things because of my experience. I recognized the housing problem, especially the homelessness problem, about 4 years ago. And so what I did is I went and helped a kid off the street. I found him. I got to understand what his issues were while he was on the street. He was 6 months out of county. He had no family. He had no money. I met his friends, and I sort of dug deep by seeing him regularly. And eventually, I got him off the street. I found a room for him. I went through the process myself through the city to understand getting food stamps, getting his paperwork, getting a case manager. It's not easy. It was very hard for me, and I have means. I eventually got him a room, not an apartment, a room. Coached him on how to live in that sort of environment. Then we got him a job at Price Chopper. Coached him for quite a long time to keep his job and do well. And so, as part of that, I met a lot of his friends, and that gave me deep insights. And that was one of the things that spurred me on to see if we could do this on scale. The second thing, which is totally different, is I recognized years ago that we have a shortage of folks helping seniors age in place. Many of us are caregivers. There's 55 million unpaid caregivers of seniors in the U.S. So we started a company. I have a company called Maya Care. It's a team of 25 people. We have an app to help caregivers. We're beginning to roll that out. I've offered it to Albany County for free to try to make it available to all 60,000 families of seniors in Albany County. I've got a long history of trying to do things on scale, and that's how I do them. I learn very, very deeply what the issue is and then try to do something. So that's my experience.
Thank you. Carolyn McLaughlin.
I'm going to have to ask you to repeat the question.
Sure. Can you describe a community service project you've been personally involved in the city of Albany within the last 5 years that you've personally enjoyed and you think has made a positive impact on the community?
I think probably one of the most meaningful things for me has been my work with seniors in the city of Albany and all throughout Albany County. We talked about folks that are part of NORC communities, naturally occurring retirement communities. There's one that's very popular, that's well known, that exists on Whitehall Road in that area on New Scotland Avenue. But do you realize that naturally occurring retirement communities are building up in the Arbor Hill, in North Albany, and in the south end of Albany, and taking the opportunity to deal with individuals on a daily basis who have needs, whether they need the services to be brought into their home so that they can stay in their home, whether they need services when they find that their family members find they cannot stay in the home, to help them find assisted living accommodations or skilled nursing facility accommodations. That is something that I have been very proud to be able to do. Another thing that, in addition to that, 3 years ago when we had the COVID crisis, I am proud to say that I, along with some other women leaders in this community, we made sure that over 1,000 people got COVID vaccinations so that they did not have to drive to Plattsburgh, Utica, Do you know there were people coming from Florida coming to the capital region to get their vaccination, but yet there were folks right in this community who didn't have access? So I had the opportunity to ensure, I believe that I saved lives. And I'm very proud of that. And I believe I'm looking at some people in this room who I helped you or your family members get that vaccination without having to travel 90 or 200 miles. Thank you.
Thank you. Dorcia Pliers.
So one of the philosophies that I would take with me as your next mayor is this notion that public service is about macro level policy practices, but also micro. And for any mayor, it's important to be grassroots, boots on the ground in the community, and that's what I have been over the course of my service and tenure in this city. One of the programs that I'm most proud of, and there are so many, but it's my Ready, Set, Go youth program. I have a love and passion for investing in our youth. And as Chief City Auditor, this is a program that most Chief City Auditors would not have started. In fact, I received some critique about using the Office of Audit and Control in this capacity. But this program exposes our youth to job readiness training, mentorship, also visiting college campuses, one in particular, Albany, my alma mater. But also we introduce students to what it means to learn how to play golf, because sometimes business is conducted on the golf course. We talk to them about the importance of dining etiquette and professional etiquette. That youth program also results in each of our youth receiving an iPad so that they are prepared to start their school year. And that job readiness training and the tools and resources that they receive also extend to the parents. So that's one of the programs that I am most proud about. And actually, applications are available. If you know of youth, we will be running Ready, Set, Go this summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good program. Good program.
The candidate's next question is about livability, which I think is a wonderful word, and we're all excited to hear your interpretation of that. So Dan Cerruti will have the first opportunity to answer, and the question is, how would you work to change our streets and public spaces to make our communities more livable for people of all ages and abilities?
So livability is a great word. Fun, safe, a place that's attractive to people, a place that people want to come and eat, a place that people want to come and listen to music. We need to get Albany back to being a destination where all folks in the capital region want to come here like they do to other cities. It first and foremost needs to feel safe, which means the people who inhabit our streets, who need our help, need to get our help. They have substance abuse issues, they have mental health issues, and a lot of them are poor. And we need to expand the capacity for all those services and get them the help they need. We need to have police in our communities, police officers and perhaps volunteers in the communities to help make people feel comfortable, to engage the communities with law enforcement, to build trust. And then we need to do the big things. We need to increase walkability. So these $200 million that's coming in, that should be investment that's leveraged into $1 billion. I've said that a lot. I think we can do that. But every project that we do, whether it's in Liberty Square or where the Central Warehouse is, or in Arbor Hill, or wherever we might do a project, we got to make sure that they take into consideration the environmental factors, walkability, public transportation, the streets, because if investment is going in, we have to connect our neighborhoods. We have to connect the neighborhoods across the city, especially across downtown. That will make our city more attractive, and it will ultimately make our city more livable.
Thank you. Carolyn McLaughlin.
One of the things that I propose to do initially is to issue an executive order in the city of Albany around public safety that encompasses police department, fire department, and DGS. because I believe that it takes all three of these departments to make Albany a livable city. It takes all three of those departments that are going to help us produce neighborhoods that address the quality of life issues that affect so many of our neighborhoods. I shouldn't have to go through one neighborhood and walk and feel like everything pristine neighborhood, and then you go less than a quarter of a mile walking, livability, walkability, as we are talking about tonight, and then people feel like they got to walk with the head down because they're going to trip, they're going to fall. All these kinds of things are susceptible. They don't feel safe. They don't, in terms of interactions they may have, and the infrastructure is not what is needed. So I believe that we have to tackle this from day one to let our departments know that this is a priority for me as the mayor of Albany. I want the quality of life issues that our individuals, that our residents have to deal with on a daily basis addressed. Not at, we have to be proactive about it. I don't want us to be always reacting to something, but let's be proactive and recognize that this is a city that we have a lot of great assets. And let's make sure that people understand that if you're walking through Lincoln Park, if you're walking through Washington Park, if you're coming here to Cap Rep, if you're going to the Palace or going to MVP Arena, that you feel safe in those neighborhoods, and it's going to require multiple services that will ensure that that is the environment that whether you live, work, or play in the city of Albany.
Thank you. Dorcia Pliers is next.
So one of our greatest assets as a city is that we are a city of neighborhoods. And what I learned as a council member is that what people care most about are quality of life issues. Those include streets and sidewalks, the trash being picked up, the dog barking on the Sunday afternoon that won't stop, tree removal. Those are bread and butter issues that as a city we have to be able to tackle efficiently and effectively without residents having to call multiple times. And so there is some in-house cleaning that we have to do to ensure that we are effectively addressing the quality of life issues of our residents. When it comes to having stronger neighborhoods, we talked about housing. We can't have a livable city without good quality housing stock. We talked about public safety. But in addition to that, it's important that we spend our resources as a city in an equitable manner. We are essentially stewards of taxpayer dollars, and taxes get paid across the city. And so we should be investing our resources, whether it is addressing streets and sidewalks or even code enforcement. It should be done in an equitable way so that regardless of whether you live in the 1st Ward or the 15th Ward, you receive quality service from our city. In addition, we have to revitalize our downtown. Again, one of our greatest assets that is underutilized and untapped. And as mayor, one of the things that I would prioritize is reclaiming and revitalizing our waterfront access and revitalizing our downtown and ensuring that our business corridors are safe, clean, and vibrant. Lastly, more partnerships and better partnership with our school district, better partnership with our libraries, and better partnership with our businesses.
Thank you. Corey Ellis will be next.
Yes, Dr. McLaughlin said it, being proactive. I have been proactive on these issues. A few years ago, Dr. Green and I and the NAACP and some other community members, we put together a local law calling for a public safety commission to begin to look at our public safety through the lens of police, fire, community. It didn't happen. As mayor, we will make sure that that public safety commission is put together so we can address these issues holistically. Dr. Pliers, equity is key. Me and Dr. Pliers co-authored the equity agenda. That equity agenda can allow us to have a vision of where we want to go as a city. The city auditor's office does that report for the city. So we would use that report to make sure that it's equitable. Those are the laws we put together. And the third, quality of life. Before I ran for mayor, 2 years ago, I had a quality of life press conference about the 7 things we can do to affect the quality of life in the city of Albany. The council passed that resolution. Those 7 points were not implemented. So when you're talking about being proactive, I've been proactive on these issues. I just couldn't get them done. The council passed them. And one of those quality of life issues is in the South End, where for 2 years in a row, the council has stated, has put it in their budget memo to have a community center in the South End. It hasn't been done. In my administration, that will happen. Thank you.
Thank you. The first candidate for the next question will be Carolyn McLaughlin, and this relates to transportation. The new school zone speed cameras have significantly slowed cars around our children's schools, but many other roads on the way to and from school still have fast-moving traffic that makes it difficult for children to safely walk to and from school. This is especially important in Albany, where you're not eligible for busing unless you live over 1.5 miles from your school. What would you do to help children get safely to and from school?
This may not be popular with everyone, but we have to ensure that people are adhering to the regulations that have been put in place. It's very painful when you get a ticket for $50. And if you don't pay it within 30 days, it goes to $75. I'm speaking from experience.
How does she know that?
But I tell you, I'm much more conscious driving through the city. If you are in a neighborhood where 2 schools are 2 blocks from each other, just slow down and just keep it below 20. But you have to get used to that. And I believe we spent some time in it, but I don't believe maybe that we gave, according to what I'm hearing as I go door to door, a lot of people are not happy. They're thinking that, this is a cash cow for the city. But more importantly, it is about the safety of our children. I bet to you 50% of the people in here have seen people blow past that stop sign on a bus. And you're saying, what are they doing? But so I believe that we've got to continue to educate people about the fact that this is about safety of our children. And ultimately, it's about the safety of every resident in the city of Albany. So I have to continue I think there may be some tweaks that could be made. The timing. Some people have talked about, why is it from 9 or 8:30 to 6 o'clock in the evening? Why can't it be from the time they get in school till about 10 and then pick back up at 3 o'clock when they get out? But these are the kinds of I think, changes or updates that can be made to the program. So I would like the opportunity to just continue to evaluate the program, but certainly keep it in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Dorcia Pleers.
Thank you. So there are a few things that can be done. One, continue the enforcement. I'm actually glad that cars are slowing down. What we have found is that most of the repeat offenders are people who don't live in the city of Albany. They are individuals who are passing through our city. And so if it's an inconvenience, it's an inconvenience. They should slow down. The other piece that we've heard, I know I've heard loud and clear, that we need more speed humps. Some of our neighborhoods that currently have them really appreciate them because they slow traffic down. We need better signage. Some of our seniors have shared that by the time that they realize that they are in the speed enforcement zone, it's too late because they have a hard time reading the signage, and so we need better signage. And we also need to incorporate things like traffic calming, street diets. Some of our streets in which our schools are located on, it is too much traffic for a school to be positioned in those areas. We also need to evaluate the legislation, the enhancements. What we have found is that because people are avoiding the speed cameras, they have now turned our side streets into raceways. And so we also have to look at how we incorporate speed humps, stop signs, and other pedestrian safety measures on our side streets. And lastly, incorporate ideas like my colleague in Baltimore, the mayor of Baltimore, they started a safe passage program for students. And that safe passage program requires partnership with businesses, schools, and local government to ensure that students have a safe journey home, whether that's from school to the park, school to home, or school to the library.
Thank you. Corey Ellis.
Can you repeat the question again? Just 'cause I
Sure,
wanna make
I'll skip the long introduction and
Yeah.
say the heart of the question is, what would you do to help children get safely to
okay.
and from school?
Well, the first thing is you meet with the school district, right? And you find out what challenges they see around their schools. What challenges they see when it comes to traffic, what challenges they see when it comes to our young girls and boys passing to school. Also, we understand we have every candidate up here has heard from citizens about the new change. It's needed. It was needed. People have been speeding in Albany for over 30 years, and we finally do something about it. Change is hard. But being a leader is understanding change is hard. Being a leader is understanding that there's some people going to disagree with you. But in the end, it's the best for the city and it's best for our young girls and boys to make sure that they get to school safe. Also, when it comes to trafficking, I live around the corner from Albany High School. So my street, which is a one-way, has turned into a freeway now because they try to avoid Albany High School because of the speed cameras and the school zones and come down my street really, really quickly. I have young girls and boys who live on my block. So that poses a immediate threat. So we must, when we look at it, it has to be a comprehensive approach at looking at our speed bumps around those areas to make sure that we begin to slow down traffic so they don't use our side streets as the freeway to avoid lights and the speed cameras. But I think over time, our city will slow down. I believe over time, people will adjust and we will be fine. And the most important part, it's about safety. And if people want to feel this is a money grab, I'm sorry, this is about safety and it's about the lives of our children.
Thank you. Dan Cerruti.
I sense that people have slowed down a little bit. Some people are learning. It's not wrecking their day. I think it's great that we tried something. What we need to do is not be afraid to try things and adjust. I got a lot of issues with the way we implemented this. I believe that 20 during the day, when the kids are when they're in the school, not outside, is probably too slow. The thing we can do to continue to do this across the city is add cameras. I'm a fan of the technology. I would do a deal with a vendor where we get more than 1/3 of the cash for these tickets. But the objective is not to get money. The objective is to slow people down. What we have to understand is that the speeders are not going 28. It's not the ones people going 28 or 31. It's the people going 45 and 50. And we need cameras and enforcement. We can ask the sheriff to help us with this. They have 30 officers patrolling in our city. We got to get after the real troublemakers, and we can do that. Now, with respect to schools, there's an old technique that worked for many years, and it was crossing guards. It's folks who are willing, retired people lots of times, willing to spend a few hours out with children. It helps the community. It's a good feeling. People get to know each other. Things like that work. And so we do need to keep our focus on our children and around our schools. But in the larger picture, we got to stop the folks who are just excessively speeding. And that, again, is an enforcement issue. Technology is worth it. I know it takes time to adjust to technology, but across the country, it's been proven that it's the way to go. We can't have enough officers to try to catch these people. And they're not, people are smart. They find out the routes where cops are. They found out the routes where cameras are. They find out the routes where speed bumps are. So we need to just stay after this as a city. And we got started. I think that's good.
Thank you. The next question, which will be first for Dorsey Appears, is about leadership. And I think this is sort of a classic job interview question, which I think is great as you're all interviewing for a job essentially right now. So the question is, what's your leadership or management style, and how will you effectively lead the city of Albany with its numerous departments and responsibilities? Dorsey Appears.
So one of the things that I often talk about in these settings is the fact that I am battle tested and that I've served our city during some of our darkest days. COVID-19 was talked about, and while some were walking around talking to people, I was on the front lines saving lives, coordinating with our nonprofits and working with other community partners to ensure that people had access to PPE testing, etc. In addition, during some of our darkest times, the murder of George Floyd and the fallout, we experienced racial unrest in our city. We had an encampment at the South Station. I leaned into that challenge and worked with our advocates, our current mayor, and the police chief. Trouble will come. And what I can say is that when trouble has come, I have never shied away from leaning into addressing Albany's our challenges, because, as I've always said, this is my home and home is worth fighting for. But also, Albany needs a leader that listens, has a track record of getting things done, has a track record of being a bridge builder, has a track record of loving and liking people. You can't be a public servant and be a mayor if you don't like people. And so our mayor, next mayor, has to be someone who is compassionate, who understands that this work is not about profit, it is about people. And it is also about saving lives and ensuring that we have the best city that gets the best outcomes for our residents and the people who call not only Albany home, but the place that they conduct business or whether they play in Albany. Thank you.
Thank you. And Corey Ellis is next.
My leadership style is being inclusive as much as possible. As Dr. Pleers just pointed out, we had many challenges throughout this city, and we were a part of those teams making sure we had COVID, we had George Floyd, we had the financial crisis where if we didn't get the Senate passed, we didn't turn Congress over, that money, we would have had to make some tough decisions in the city of Albany, where we were on the brink of laying off workers, and we were really down to where we had to make decisions. And as a group, we came together on the city council and we looked at it and we held the line. When George Floyd happened, the council was out there talking to their constituents, communicating with their constituents, and they heard some things where they began the process of changing some laws that would, when it regards to our police department and safety, public safety. But the most challenging one was the encampment that Dr. Pleers mentioned. That was challenging because we all were working together. And when it goes left, you have to reach out to those community people and bring them in and say, hey, how can we make this better? How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? How can we make sure you're heard? And that is the type of leadership I bring, is bringing people in the room, having those tough conversations, asking those tough questions, and being able to lead regardless of what the public may think, because we're on the inside, so we know. And we have to make those decisions, but we will make them with the community's safety, the community being able to be in a part of those decision makings, and that's the type of leadership I bring.
Thank you. Dan Cerruti.
Being a mayor is a hard job from everything I know. Being a leader is a hard job. Being a chief executive is a hard job. Not everybody's cut out for it. The job of a leader of the city is to bring people together. Not just the people in the city, to work with the mayors of other municipalities, to work with the state legislators, to work with the governors, it's to bring everyone together, and it's hard. I've been doing that for about 35 years. I've led organizations across industries. I brought hospitals together with health plans and universities together with private businesses. It's not easy. It takes a lot of communication. It takes making tough decisions. It takes being able to persuade people because most people don't have to do what you say. My leadership style has always been to find the best people I can find. I don't believe the mayor has to know all the answers to everything. That's not the way it works. What the mayor has to do is to find people who are good and then let them do their jobs and then hold them accountable and replace them if they're not getting their jobs done and recruit people. I've hired hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in my days. Not everybody was perfect. We adapt. But then we build teams and we coach those teams. We manage budgets. And then ultimately you have to get things done and hold people accountable. Accountability is probably not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of leadership in Albany. And we need more accountability. because the administration works for us. And all of these issues that we're talking about tonight, all of which are valid issues that we're all very passionate about, are hard problems. If they weren't hard problems, we probably would have solved more of them. But we have an opportunity now to do that. We have outside funding coming in from the state that owes us. Right? This is the capital city. They do, the state is in our city. So leadership is about leading, period.
Thank you. Carolyn McLaughlin.
My leadership style is one that incorporates shared decision-making. While ultimately decisions rest with me as mayor, but I know what my strengths are. And I'm also smart enough to go out and find individuals who can do what I can't do. I know that there are individuals that have information on certain topics because of their lived experience. So I have to go out and get those people and bring them in the room so that when we're talking about housing, when we're talking about public safety, when we're talking about accountability, and we're talking about making Albany a livable, walkable city, bring people in who've had experience with this. When we're talking about public works in our city, we have to make sure that there are individuals in the room who have hardcore experience with these issues. And I believe that as a leader, your job is to develop leaders. So you may be familiar with the concept of level 5 leadership. So it means that as I am working with the different department heads, they should be doing the kind of job where not only are they the best leader they can be, but they're also making sure that the individuals that work with them are developing into the type of leadership that will move our city forward. We have intergenerational leadership in the city of Albany. We have to make sure that individuals know that you can learn from one another, no matter which generation you bring to the table. And let's make sure that we take the opportunity to, you know what, I didn't see your sign, and so I'm gonna go ahead and stop, because, oh, I had 30 seconds, I'm sorry.
You had a few more seconds.
I'm trying to adhere to the rules. But I just believe it's, continue to respect the individuals that are in place, and as was stated before, if they're not doing their job, they have to be held accountable. But ultimately and initially, respect the leadership that you have in place.
Thank you. Coming up next, we have a couple questions about politics. Corey Ellis, you'll be the first one to answer this question. What is your path to victory in this primary election? And would you consider dropping out of the race if it becomes clear you will not be victorious?
I don't know. I don't know how you can say you don't. How do you know you're not going to be victorious? We're going by who we're knocking on the doors and talking to voters. I mean, I don't know if anybody is a genie in here or has a magic wand or lamp to predict the future. I don't know what that. I don't understand the question. How do you know you're not going to win? And then you're running, anything you do in life, you don't run thinking you're going to lose. And so it's a interesting question, but I don't know, how do you know you're not going to win?
Thank you. Dan Cerruti.
I don't know either. I'm not going to change what I've been doing for about 29 months. I've been meeting with people every day. I had to reacquaint myself with the city because I've only been back 9 years. I've met with, as you guys know, over 1,000 people one-on-one and another 1,500 or more in small groups. I want to continue to do that because that's how I learn. I learn every day and every night. And I'm also finding people who want to help, and I am overwhelmed by the people in this city who want change and who want to help and offer to contribute. And I think that's one of the great strengths of this city. People care deeply. Look at this place tonight. It's full because you care about this city. And so I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. And when if I'm mayor, I'm not going to stop. I like to touch people. I like to understand what goes on. I like to get things done. I don't care about anything else. I'm running because I love this city. I'm obviously not on my way to someplace else. I don't have an interest in a political career. So I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to run through the tape. We've got 21 more days. I'm excited about this. It's a wonderful experience. I've enjoyed meeting so many people, and I remain optimistic about what we can do for the city. And I'm with Corey. we'll find out on the 24th or 25th or 26th.
Thank you. Carolyn McLaughlin.
For 28 years, I've been preparing for this opportunity. Dan, I'm glad you spent the last 28 months but thank you for trying to catch up with us who've been doing it for 28 years. And I have been here on the front lines. This is my path to victory. It started 28 years ago as a council member. It started as a volunteer in this community. It continues to develop as I go door to door. I am encouraged every time I knock on a door and someone comes and says, I know who you are. I'm encouraged by that. So as I go forward, my gut tells me I'm going to win this thing. So I am not sitting here with any doubt. And anybody who's sitting at this table with doubt, you need to walk out right now. Because you cannot do this work. You cannot be committed to the people in the city of Albany at this point, 21 days out, and you got some thought that, maybe I shouldn't have did this? No, that will not surface in me. People that have been working with me won't allow it to surface. The God I serve will not allow it to surface because I trust in what I have been doing. I trust in the people that when I knock on their door and they say, you know what? I know what you've been doing for the last almost 3 decades. And that's what I stand on today. That's my path to victory.
Thank you. Dorcia Pleers.
The other morning, my husband sent me a text message. It was a picture of me sleeping. And the caption said, if your mayoral candidate doesn't sleep like this, I don't want him. I was exhausted. With that said, for anyone who has been paying attention to this race and to my candidacy, I am everywhere all the time. A man of faith once said, don't mistake prep time with cook time. And so for the last nearly 3 years, I have been prepping for this run. Path to victory. We have the strongest team. I am proud of my team. We have built a broad base of support from the 1st Ward to the 15th. Yellow, black, blue, white, green, we have you on the team. Young, seniors, we have you on the team. LGBTQ+, we have you on the team. We have a broad-based team that I will put to battle with any other group. In addition to having a strong team, because you can tell the type of leadership that you will get from your mayor by the way they run their campaign. Let's be clear about it. In addition to that, we have built a broad base of support across this city. I continue to be inspired by the residents across this city who are looking for change and who are excited about my leadership and my ability to move our city forward. In addition, we have raised money. You cannot run a successful campaign without raising money. And I am honored by all of the Albany residents who have contributed to this campaign, sometimes $5 at a time. But it speaks to the level of investment from Albany residents who believe in our vision, my candidacy, and our campaign. We have knocked doors, and we will continue to knock doors. I will take my last swing on the day of election at 9 o'clock. We will take our last swing. So I am in this to win this, 10 toes down.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I want to be respectful of time, and I know there's a lot of enthusiasm in the room. I just want to caution you, if you're clapping during answers, we're not going to be able to get to all the questions that we're asking. You're taking time away from your candidate to speak to those people. So I'll ask you, I know it's really hard, but to try to hold the applause at least till the end so we can try to get to as many questions as we can because we're already running over time here. This next question is a split question. It's for Mr. Cerruti first. For Mr. Cerruti, it has been reported that you were previously a Republican. Voters might wonder whether your change to running as a Democrat reflects a genuine shift in values or a strategic move to be more competitive in this race. Can you explain what led to this transition and how your current positions align with the Democratic platform today? For the other candidates, As a candidate representing the Democratic Party, what does being a Democrat mean to you personally? And how do you envision the party's role in addressing the challenges facing our nation today? Additionally, how do you believe the party can evolve to better serve the needs of all Americans while staying true to its core values? Mr. Cerruti.
Thank you. I'm glad this came up. I put out a statement today addressing this issue because of what people have been saying, which is false and misleading. I was a registered Democrat when I turned 18. I voted Democratic. I have Democratic values. I've been socially liberal forever. I am a more fiscally conservative, a traditional moderate Democrat. In the 1980s, we moved 6 times. And when we bought our first house, I registered as a Republican. It had to do with the fact that I went to a liberal arts school and they made fun of me because I was a sort of conservative kind of guy. So I called myself a Reagan Democrat. Unfortunately, I wasn't involved in politics, and I don't even know if I voted during that period. It's a little embarrassing, but we moved 6 times, and I think if you understand your transfer. So I was a Democrat. I was a Republican for those 8 years. When we left Texas, I went to Connecticut and then Massachusetts, and I was unregistered in parties. That's because I am anti-partisan. I've always been anti-partisan. I hate divisive partisan politics. In Massachusetts, you don't have to be a Democrat to vote Democratic or vote in the primary. So that's what I did. And when I moved back to Albany a few years ago and decided I might get into politics, I re-registered as a Democrat. I am a Democrat. I'm a moderate Democrat. I've had the same values I've ever had. I do not believe people should be defined by the party they're in. They should be defined by the values they live. And I've lived these values for my entire life.
Thank you. Carolyn McLaughlin.
I am a lifelong Democrat, and I look at that from the perspective of servant leadership. Someone who's here to serve people who often feel left out, locked out, and just left behind. And so I've always prided myself on being someone who will speak up for those who will not speak for themselves or for whatever reason feel intimidated by processes and will not speak up for themselves. So that's why I'm here as a Democrat. That's the philosophy that I bring to my leadership and my designation as a Democrat. There are people from all parts of this community who feel like they don't matter. As a Democrat, I've always operated here in the city of Albany that everyone matters. That's why my campaign has been based on what we can do for the sum of us, SUM, not just some of us. Because I believe that there are other parties where they are just concerned about certain groups. But we cannot operate like that here in the city of Albany. And as a Democrat, I believe that it is our job to make sure that everyone is considered when decisions are made. And that's how I view myself as a Democrat and how I would lead under my leadership here in the city of Albany with the Democratic leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Dorothea Pliers.
So being a Democrat for me means that I put people over profit every single time. It means having a broad tent of perspective at the table. Sometimes as Democrats, having that broad tent hinders us from being able to be efficient in making decisions. But it is also what makes us a strong party is that we invite everyone to be under that tent, regardless of who you pray to, the color of your skin, how you self-identify, which leads me to, as a Democrat, I believe strongly in this notion that we have to continue embracing and promoting and yelling from the rooftops the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. As a Democrat, it is a firm belief of mine that we fight for working families and the poor, and the middle class. And as a Democrat, I believe in this notion that we should have safety net programs. We have Republicans in office cutting safety net programs, reproductive rights. And as a Democrat, I believe that what makes our nation so strong are the people who fought for those rights that are not now being repealed and cut back because of Republicans, again, focused on profit and not people.
Thank you. Corey Ellis.
Yes, as a Democrat, I view myself as a person who's fighting for the people constantly. As a Democrat, I see we're fighting against big money. As a Democrat, we bring everyone to the table. We listen to everyone's views. We want to represent those who have been left out, looked over, and left behind. As a Democrat, we must make sure that working families is the key to everything we do. Diverse working families is the key to everything we do. And allowing everyone to feel that they're welcome at that table, they're welcome to eat, work, and play along with everyone, regardless of who you are. But the most important part of being a Democrat is recognizing we're all human beings. We're all people. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how you identify. I don't care what church you go to. I don't care what God you serve. We have to start with, we're all humans. And the Democratic Party has shown that time and time and time again. And we've been criticized about that. The Democratic Party has time and time again stood up when our most vulnerable were losing benefits. And that means something, that we continue to stand together to fight with the loss of services that our most vulnerable needs, and we cannot allow it to happen. And so as a Democrat, I've been a Democrat my whole life. I was proud at 18 to register and go vote for the first time because I understood my ancestors had died and fought for that right to vote. So I was proud when I turned 18 and was able to vote. And I was proud when they sent that letter in the mail, the little card at the time saying I was a registered Democratic voter. And I will continue to be proud of being a registered Democrat because that is the value I was raised on. And those are the values that this party will continue to push forward, making sure that everyone has a voice, regardless of who you are, and we will see you as a human being, period.
Thank you. We're going to switch now to asking questions that were passed in today from the audience on cards. So thank you to everybody who submitted them. We'll get to as many as we can, given the time constraints.
What's that?
So the first one, we're going to actually stick with Mr. Cerruti again for this because it's directed to you first, and then we'll give everybody else a chance to have equal time as well. Mr. Cerruti, in your campaign literature, you claim that all the other candidates support defunding the police. What evidence do you have to support your claim?
I believe you're referring to something that was not sent by my campaign. There's an independent political action committee called Common Sense Albany. I have nothing to do with it. I think you all know legally I can have nothing to do with it. It's a set of people from Albany who care and are interested in change. They have said a number of things about me that I disagree on, but I can't control it. They said, for instance, that I want to knock every house down that has an X on it. That's the furthest thing from the truth. I do not believe, I don't know what they said, but I do not believe, at least in the case of Corey and Carolyn, that they have ever been associated with anyone that has anything like that in their background. And so I apologize to those who were offended, but again, it wasn't my campaign.
Thank you. Carolyn McLaughlin, would you like to respond?
I did it when I got this information in the mail myself that said that candidates with an S on it supported defunding the police. I confronted Mr. Cerruti about it. Nowhere have you ever heard me say anything related to defunding the police. He gave me the explanation that he just presented to you seconds ago. I do not support defund. What would I look like saying defund the police in the city of Albany? There's no way those words would ever come out of my mouth. And he understood that I was offended to be included in comments such as that. I don't know, this common sense for Albany, that makes no common sense. To say that someone such as myself and other candidates would defund the police in the city of Albany. We're already down 83 officers. That's defunding right there in and of itself. So I really don't, it was very offensive. It really was. And we are, as much time as we spend talking about public safety, we understand that this is something that is unrealistic and just really is not what should be coming in our conversation here in the city of Albany regarding public safety.
Thank you. Dorcia Pleers.
So Dan doesn't know whether he's a Democrat or a Republican. Dan does not know whether he is affiliated with this PAC or not. The truth of the matter is many of the investors in this PAC belong to Dan Cerruti's network. In fact, one of them is a Republican out of Florida who also donates to MAGA Republicans. These are your colleagues, Dan, and you should own the fact that this PAC is supporting you, hence why all of the campaign literature that comes from this PAC is propping you up and promoting you. There was a lie in this literature that went out that suggested that I wanted to defund the police. My mother was a cop. My mother was a cop. In my tenure here in this city, I have worked to build relationships between the police and our community. I know it is a challenging job to be an officer. I watched my mom, a single mom of 4, walk the beat. And so to suggest that I want to defund the police, again, these are scare tactics, Republican rhetoric that was used at the national level, and they are replicating, including Dan Cerruti, replicating Republican tactics and strategies here in the city of Albany to pull the wool over residents' eyes. I'm smarter than that, and the residents of Albany are smarter than that.
Thank you. Corey Ellis.
Well, I mean, what do you say? What do you say? Well, I've never said defund the police. And we know those are the Republican way of trying to label 3 African American candidates. And if they begin to look and listen more clearly, our community has been the one that's saying, hey, we want to partner up with our police department. Our community has been saying we want community policing in our neighborhoods. That can't go on if you defund the police. Those relationships can't happen if you defund the police. So once again, when outsiders don't know Albany, haven't been here, haven't talked to one person, they don't understand what's going on, right? And so I know, as Dr. Pleer said, people aren't fooled by this rhetoric. People know what's going on. They know where we stand. They know how we've been in city government, how we've been with our police department, doing our community events with our police department. And never once would I have said defund the police. Our community has said we want better police engagement, we want better communications with our police, we want better relationships, and that is our job, is to help create those avenues to do that. And defunding the police, you can't do that. And so, once again, it's funny to me, I didn't read it, I got called about it, I was like, really? Because I normally don't read a lot of literature because I'm too busy, but I was totally surprised. I was like, I know I didn't say that. So, but that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you. Next question. Will you, and we'll have Carolyn McLaughlin first on this one. Will you adopt a real co-responder model? I believe that's referring to public health and other individuals responding along with police to 911 calls, et cetera, to prevent violence and restore dignity and humanity in Albany? Carolyn McLaughlin is first.
I spoke to someone today who was concerned over the fact that there was an incident in Albany where the police came and there was clearly an issue where the individual involved was in a mental health crisis. You can't just send the police alone. You have to embed social workers, healthcare workers, I believe, within the police department. They would welcome that. I believe that there has to be in their initial training, but also continuous training to help individuals understand you don't know what you're going to encounter when you hit the street. I believe they know that as an officer, but we as leadership in the city of Albany have got to understand that we've got to invest in making sure not only is the officer safe, but the community has additional safety measures in place by embedding social workers. This is a conversation that has been going on for some time now, and and mental health workers in our community. Just like on the fire truck, if fire truck comes to your house and there's an EMT person there, they're there for a reason. Because the fireman treats one thing, but a person who has an EMT is going to take that measure even further. I've had that experience. So I believe that we've got to continue to do that to make sure that don't just send that officer alone. You got to be able to talk to people. You got to be able to respond to different situations that they may be confronted with. So I do support the co-responder model.
Thank you. Dorcia Pleers.
So the answer is yes. Currently, the city has some initiatives that invest in social workers, some housed at our police precincts. But also, we have models in partnership with the county to ensure that we have social workers and mental health specialists who are out in the streets accompanied with our police officers. We have to put the public back into public safety, and as mayor, that will be my priority. In addition, I would like to fully fund and stand up an Office of Violence Prevention. We know that across the country, cities that have been able to change the dynamic as it relates to the epidemic of crime in their city have an Office of Violence Prevention with an emphasis on trauma-informed services. We can't address crime in our city by just hiring more officers. And so this Office of Violence Prevention will work in tandem with our police department, will be community-led, and also work to ensure, again, that we're putting the public back in public safety and addressing some of our neighborhoods that are ground zero for violence. They are neighborhoods and neighbors that have experienced decades of trauma. And you can't address public safety without acknowledging the trauma that has to first be interrupted and addressed.
So our co-responder, yes to the co-responder question. A couple of weeks ago, I was keynote speaker at public health at SUNY, and that was my speaking points about co-responder response. Right now, our police department answers every single call. They go. Sometimes those calls, they get a 911 call that it's not clear, but they go and they try to tackle that situation. When we add a co-responder department and issue with this, with our police department, our 911 calls become more clearer. People will understand, okay, when I request this, I might need some help on my son or daughter or my cousin or my aunt or my uncle. When you show up, they might have some challenges, so bring someone along with you that can help with those challenges. And that's what I think we're missing. Our police department, when you're overworked and you're tasked, where we are now, and you don't have any other support, and you show up to some of these calls, things do go awry. So the co-responder model is a perfect model because it's going to have trained professionals. Most of the co-responders are people who've lived these situations as well. So they're bringing their lived situation with their training when they're going out with an officer to help de-escalate those situations. And I know when you begin to do those things, that's when you will see the level of not having to be over-policed. And that's what the Public Safety Commission would have begin to study if we had passed that law 3-4 years ago. We would be ahead of this thing. It's about being proactive. And too many times in the city, we're not proactive. And we don't allow things to happen because of politics. We don't want this law to pass because someone might be running for office and we don't want them to get credit. That has to stop. It's about people. It's about making sure the policies and procedures we put in place are going to help people immediately and not look at politics as everything. It's not about politics. It's about people.
Thank you. Dan Cerruti.
I too favor this model. This has been tried across the country. We don't have it perfect yet, but we got to keep trying. We need to continue to educate and train our police force, the officers. The idea to embed social workers is a good idea. We've started it a little bit, but I don't think they can just be in the houses. They need to be in the streets, in the neighborhoods to co-respond. There are also other services that need to be available. EMT services, which are available. And I'm talking about specialized folks who are close to the neighborhoods. We can also, as we try to build more trust in our neighborhoods, use volunteer people in the neighborhoods to connect to police officers, to build community and foster communication and build trust. Because neighborhoods will respond to crises. The police need to do their job, but people will respond. They'll help. And so this model has been tried across the country. Nashville is a good example. They have folks on the street in Nashville who work for the city, and they're not all police officers, but they're able to diagnose and triage a situation, and they're able to bring help to that person, not that person to wherever they might be, because it's difficult to lift them out of where they are. They may be in a state where they're uncomfortable, they may be inebriated, they may be in crisis. And so we have to bring services to the people where they are. And building an infrastructure like this needs to continue to be the evolution of what was traditional policing. And I think we have the opportunity. We're a good city to do this. We're not that big. We have the resources. We have a lot of not-for-profits who provide services. So I really think this is something we can really advance, the care we provide for people in the city.
Thank you. Next question will be first for Dorcia Pleers. Our next audience question is, if you could wave your magic mayor's wand and pass one piece of legislation in our city, what would it be?
Of course, I would get this question first.
It's a tough one to have first.
The legislation would be something focused on improved quality of life. Again, as I mentioned, our greatest assets are our neighborhoods. And in order to be a thriving city, we have to have strong and healthy neighborhoods. And so that magical piece of legislation would have funding attached to it. And that funding helps to lift up and invest in the things that make neighborhoods strong. Our parks, our housing stock, our infrastructure. And I can go on and on.
Thank you. Corey Ellis.
So if I had a magic wand, I would hope this. So this is magic, right? Because I want to make sure it's magic. I want to give a statement and say, well, you can't really do that, right? So this is a magic wand.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Magic. Go wild.
My magic wand that I would wave would be to make sure that we even the gap between the median household incomes of African Americans and our whites and our people in the city of Albany. The median income is the reason why our communities of color are suffering. I don't know if any of you checked the latest census about the median income. For whites, it's $72,000. For African Americans, $42,000. That's the problem. You close that gap, you have safer neighborhoods. You close that gap, you have more home ownership. You close that gap, you have a city that is thriving. You have a city that is intertwined and no longer separated by two different cities and different neighborhoods. So that magic wand is about economics. And I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but that's what it is. We have an economic imbalance in this city for years. People work full time. My mother, thank God she's here tonight, back from Tampa, is working poor. I've been championing this for years and years and years. My mother worked every single day, 40 hours a week. The working poor, but could never figure out or have the resources to save money to purchase a home. If her income was higher, she would have been able to save money to purchase a home. And that is where we're looking at. So that magic wand would be to close that income inequality gap when it comes to race. And it is there, people. Check the census. And that is the problem. We have to make sure our employers are looking at everyone as equal, whether you're a man or woman, black or white. When we see these gaps that big, it's not by accident.
Thank you. Dan Cerruti.
I like Corey's wand. I think I'd shape it a little bit differently. Again, it's magic. The inequity we have in this city pains me, and I know it pains a lot of us. And we haven't moved the needle on it for a long time. The home ownership for black folks in this city is about 20%, and that's disgusting. It's as bad as it is across the country. And more importantly, the gap between white and black is 69 to 20. That is a remnant of institutional racism. It's wrong. And so the legislation, if we could do it, would eliminate every little factor that has kept people down, enable financing policies and programs to help people get into their homes, rent-to-own kinds of policies. And this is all stuff that can be done. I don't know why we haven't done it. It's one of these things that I learned when I walked around 3 years ago, and I thought it had changed since when I was a kid, and it hasn't. And as Corey said, at the end of the day, the only way to lift people out of poverty, the only proven way on scale, is jobs. So we have to use this $200 million to bring jobs into our city, good jobs, stable jobs, and that will help. But creating generational wealth starts with home ownership and everything that goes with it. So this magic wand, it's not too far away. We can do this if we put our minds to it. I like this idea. I think it's one of the things that we have to change that will change the culture and the trajectory of our city. So I love this magic wand idea.
Thank you, Carolyn McLaughlin.
Well, I'm glad Dan brought up the $200 million because I think everybody at this table has spent that money one way or another. Probably right you in this room, everybody's got a different idea how that money should be spent. But I would tell you that's the magic wand right there. I'd take that $200 million that is dedicated for downtown and I would go into these I would pass legislation that would require that you go into Arbor Hill, West Hill, and the south end of Albany and look at the infrastructure that exists there and make sure that that money is applied. This is low-hanging fruit as far as I'm concerned. You can go in there, take that money, either those buildings that can be saved, save them. Those that cannot, let's clear the land so that we can rebuild in the city of Albany. We look at Central Warehouse, been trying to tear it down for many years. Central House 2.0 is on Morton Avenue. And part of my legislation would require that some of that money be used to take those buildings down and to rebuild that prime real estate that's sitting right next door to Lincoln Park. And in that, you will increase the opportunities for the young people that live in that community, for families that live in that community. You provide you give them hope that this part of the city is really cared about. I don't know how many of you have driven by those buildings down on Morton Avenue. Please take a ride by and I want you to call to the governor's office and say, we need these buildings down. And can we use part of that $200 million as part of the legislative decisions that are gonna be made? I'm expecting you to make that phone call because that will help the city of Albany thrive, not just survive, but thrive.
That's how democracy works.
Thank you. So we're running short on time, but I'm hoping to squeeze in one more question if we can do it relatively quickly. And
okay.
I've got a lot of cards here, but I've gotten 3 of them that are about the same topic, so I think that's probably the best way to decide.
I have to write this down.
So put 3 different ways. What can you do to help seniors on a tight budget stay in their highly taxed homes? I can move and live in Florida for 1/3 of the cost. What can you do to keep me here near my family? How will you support homeowners with high taxes? And what is your plan to lower property taxes by bringing more non-homestead taxes to the city? I believe that Dorsey had the hard question with the magic wand first, so the next one will be Corey.
To make sure that the property taxes are lowered, we have to develop in our most challenged neighborhoods. That's the problem in this city. We continue to try to figure out, well, how do we do this in the city? And we continue to neglect the neighborhoods that can help this city mitigate its property taxes issue. So investment in Arbor Hill and West Hill and South End is primal to helping taxpayers throughout the city. I'm tired of when I run for mayor, people continue to say, well, don't really talk about the South End. You have to be for the whole city. I am for the whole city. I am. I'm for growth of the whole city. And you're only as strong as your weakest link. And those neighborhoods have not been invested in forever. And it's time to invest in them so we can help save our property tax owners. When it comes to our seniors, and I've experienced that with my mother. My mother lives in Tampa, Florida right now. But the housing stock for our seniors, if you're of a certain income, if you're a lower income level when you work, it's not good. So our seniors are the ones that are paying the price for lack of affordable housing in our neighborhoods. And so when you look at The price might be better in Florida, and the weather is better too, so that's a catch as well. We have to make sure that every neighborhood our seniors are in, that they can afford to stay in those neighborhoods and live in those neighborhoods. And that only comes when you begin to develop and grow your city. And right now, the housing market is the way it is because of economics. You know, we have a high demand, and we don't have the supply. And once you create the supply, the demand goes down. And that's how we begin to make sure. And also a city where our seniors have recreational opportunities within their neighborhoods. We talked about infrastructure, our sidewalks. Our seniors are afraid to walk outside because the sidewalks are so poorly done. Those are quality of life issues. When you begin to fix those issues, people who live here, who worked here, become seniors, they begin to want to stay here. And we don't mind if you go to Florida in the wintertime and come back in the summer. So we like that to happen, but that's how I would do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan Cerruti.
Seniors are a gem. The last people we want to leave the city are our seniors. They're wise. They care for their grandchildren and our children. They're volunteers for all kinds of stuff, including literacy programs. Folks who have spent their life in the city and own a home or rent deserve a special break. We got issues in this city with property taxes and prices on rents. And so I believe from a municipality point of view, we can enact legislation to give them special breaks at certain income levels, and we should do it because our property taxes are high and school taxes in this city are high and rents are high. So this is special legislation that we can afford to do, and this can be all part of the vitality plan that we're doing. There are lots of property, about 2/3 of the property in the city, of course, that doesn't generate normal property and school tax. And they got to pay their fair share. And I've talked about that at length. We need a transparent, tiered program, and I believe a lot of the institutions, I've met with lots of them, will pay their fair share. And that's what offsets the burden that goes on to our seniors and other lower income people. So the way you get a city back on its feet is this kind of stuff. And keeping our seniors is absolutely essential to the vitality of a city. I think you all know that. And so we can do this. We can take special steps. This has been done, and it might only be for 20 years or something, but it needs to be done. And so let's do it.
Thank you. Carolyn McLaughlin.
The Albany County and the New York State Department of Aging have access to so many services that are just left sitting there. We have got to make sure that people have access to this information, to know that there are things that will make your life more comfortable as a senior resident of the city of Albany. I went to a woman's house yesterday. I said, well, what do you do all day? Do you watch TV? No, I don't watch TV. I said, well, what do you do? I just sit in here. I have my phone. That's what she said. I have my phone. She says, but I said, well, do you get out? No, she does not get out. She sits in a room that if I did like this, I could hit both walls. And it pained me to know that this is the loneliness that this woman was feeling, the lack of access to things that I know she needs, that we can get someone to come in, even if there's volunteers that will come in and visit. But I want to get her out of the house. I want to get her into senior service programs where she can interact with friends. She's a very smart woman. She was 90 years old. She's 90 years old. But she's sitting up there alone. And if you want to see somebody deteriorate, let them feel lonely. Let them feel like they have no usefulness. So I want to make sure that they have access to all of the services that currently exist. We don't have to recreate things. There's stuff there that people do not have access to. So I would just, one of the things that I really want to do is to make sure that information is made available, that we have volunteers, and they do exist. If we had more programs like Dancing with Our Elders, or the programs like that, we'd get more people out of their homes. The vacant buildings that we have in the city of Albany need to be put back on the tax rolls.
Thank you. Dorcia Pleers.
So on a macro level, in order to relieve the tax burden across the board, whether it's for seniors or our middle-class families that are really struggling or low income. One, we have to grow the tax base. And so that requires us to really look at how we improve the existing housing stock, which I've talked about quite a bit tonight, how we attract more investments, more business. We need more businesses, more jobs in our city to grow our tax base, which will ultimately help to relieve the tax pressure and burden on the sum of us that are paying taxes. And from a micro level, there are some things that we can do, like advocate for rolling deadlines, for example, the STAR exemption. Sometimes we put too much stringent deadlines and requirements for programs and resources that seniors should just be allotted. In addition, as mayor, I would ensure that we have a navigator who can assist our seniors with navigating navigating city services, but also interfacing with the county and the state. It is very challenging just to navigate some of the bureaucracy of our websites at the city, county, and state level. Just picking up the phone trying to find someone can be a challenge. So the navigator could assist our seniors in doing that. And then lastly, incorporate a model program that my colleague, who was the mayor of Maine, they have a public service corps with able-bodied individuals like those of you in this room who have time to give, to donate. And in doing so, we have individuals who are ready to shovel snow, do some painting, some basic assistance to help our seniors so that funding that they're spending on those things can go towards others.
Thank you. All right, we've reached the closing statements portion. So each candidate will get 2 minutes to make closing remarks. And Dan Cerruti is up first.
Thank you. I love this healthy debate. The acrimony and name-calling that has crept into this race is regrettable. This is our city we're talking about. We all talk about all the great things we've done, but I think we all know that over the last 12 years, our city hasn't gone in the right direction. We'll turn it around. We're all optimistic about that for the right reasons. We need to think about what it takes to lead this city forward. We're all passionate about the city. We all have different experiences. But as I said earlier, the job of mayor is to lead. It's to bring people together, not just the people in our city, but all the municipalities, the police departments, all the jurisdictions that we deal with. And it's a hard job. What I have is experience. I've got 35 years of experience tackling problems of this order, hundreds of people, thousands of people, complex challenges, $200 million budgets, and I can assure you it's not easy. It's not something that you learn in a year. I've been at it for a long time, and I've had a lot of success in a lot of different environments. And I'm running to bring that experience and these skills to the city. I'm not running for any other reason. I'm not on my way to any place else. I don't need this. I want this. I grew up in this city, and I just think we can do so much better. And so I appreciate your attention. And early voting is in June 14th, and the primary is in 24 days. And I look forward to the rest of this race and the future of Albany. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn McLaughlin.
I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight and listening to what we all have to say, because there's some wisdom, there's experience that sits in here, and whatever your affiliation may be with individuals, I hope you understand that there's a lot of experience that sits in front of you. And when you look at that experience, I know that you will know that I'm the best choice for this job. And I do believe that when you look at the opportunity that we have to choose the next mayor of the city of Albany, you understand that I take this very seriously. As someone who grew up in the city of Albany, this is where I've always wanted to be, in a position where I could look to be the leader of Albany. I've been on a lot of teams. I've been a good follower. I've been a good team member. Now I want to lead the team. Let me build my team so that we can move Albany to its next level. I believe that the voice that I would bring different results to what we need here in the city of Albany. And as I started out saying, I'll continue to say it, because with the decisions that I hope to make with leadership throughout the city of Albany is that it would be about the sum of us, S-U-M, not just some of us. Because it is important that everyone feel included, that their needs are being met, and that we will be able to meet the challenges that are in front of us. This is by no means going to be an easy task. With the challenges that we have at the state level, who stands to lose $90 billion with the decisions that are coming from the federal government. How do we tackle that here in the city of Albany? We're going to take every one of you in this room to help us do the job that's in front of us. And I look forward to working with every one of you as the next mayor of the city of Albany.
Thank you. Dorcia Pleers.
So our city is at a crossroads, and hence why so many of you are in this room. Albany is a historic city in need of a new vision and a new path forward, and you won't find too many people who disagree with that. I am running for mayor because, as mentioned, I have such a deep appreciation for this city, but I am also someone raising 2 small babies in this city. And what I want for my children and what I want for all of our children is a city that has safe streets and thriving neighborhoods, a city that's robust with economic development opportunities for everyone, a city that invests in its most vulnerable, our seniors and our youth, and a city that's vibrant and fun. What you will get from me is a leader who shows up every single day with heart, compassion, and conviction. I understand that this role is about putting the city on my shoulders, and I am someone who prays, and I ask that these little shoulders be broadened to bear the pressure that comes with being the next mayor. I don't take it lightly. This is essentially a job that puts the lives of our residents in my hands. And so you won't find someone who will work harder as your next mayor. You can't find someone who will out-Albany me just because they're from here. This is about the future of our city. This is about the people who make it home, have called it home, who live here and choose to invest. And so I'm prepared day one to hit the ground running, ready to lead with a track record of service, with integrity, compassion, and I can't wait, and it would be my honor to serve as your next mayor.
Thank you. Corey Ellis.
Thank you. Being born and raised in Albany means a lot to me. But I wasn't just born and raised in Albany. I've been giving back to Albany since I've been home. I've been giving back to our community since I've been home. So when we say we're from Albany, it's the work that we put in. It's the work that you put in as a mentor when you're helping a little league team. It's the work you put in when our most precious Arbor Hill Softball League was under attack, and I volunteered for 10 years running that league when my predecessors before me were getting paid to do it. It's the work you put in when you see there's gaps in our community when it comes to economic development and small businesses, and you create a Black Chamber of Commerce and you continue to move forward when everyone else said it would fail. It's the work you put in when you're mentoring our young men and women, and some of those young men, you realize they didn't have the greatest upbringing, but you believed in them and you took risk in them, and some paid off and some didn't. But being mayor of the city of Albany will send a message to all those young people who were born and raised in this city that perseverance pays off. What we're talking about today, we talked about 17 years ago. What we're talking about today, we talked about 12 years ago. The difference is I was not elected mayor. If I was elected mayor, the things that I've been proactive on would have been put in place. If I was elected mayor, our neighborhoods would look different today. If I was elected mayor, our downtown would be vibrant. Our downtown would be a place that businesses would be coming to. Because the plans that we're talking about, when I ran for mayor, I had those plans. Putting a community college in downtown Albany, having an aquarium in downtown Albany. That's what 17 years ago, and then 12 years ago after that. If I had been mayor, those things would have happened, because I bring my passion, my heart, my perseverance, because that perseverance comes from the citizens of this city that I'll never give up on, that I'll never take for granted. And I thank you for listening. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Before we finish, I want to echo what's been said already, to say that it's really heartening to see so many of you have taken time out of your schedules to participate in civic life as an American. That's something really beautiful. I don't think it should be understated. But this is the first step. You've gotten down the path to becoming more informed about how to cast your vote, but it's of course important to cast your vote, which you'll be able to do. We'll give you some information about the dates on that. To vote in a primary in New York State, you must be registered to vote, you must be enrolled in a political party, and your party must be holding a primary. So you'll only be able to choose from those candidates who are running in your party. The primary election this year will be held on Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. And you'll be able to vote for among these four candidates if you are a registered Democrat who lives in the city of Albany. The polls open that day from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Early voting takes place between June 14th and the 22nd. And the dates and the times vary for those dates depending on the day. There's different hours for Saturdays and Sundays versus Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. So we will be handing out cards on your way out that have information about that. And you can also always check with the Albany County Board of Elections. Just note that early voting is not the same location as your normal polling place. There's centralized locations throughout the county. Make sure you check before you go. And again, take one of the postcards on your way out. Before we finish up, I want to introduce Beverly Ivy, who has worked so hard to put this night together and make everything possible.
Thank you. Hi, you guys can take a breath. Cleansing breath. Thank you, one and all, for being here. I just want to take a moment now to thank the partners that put it together. It was not just NAACP. So when I call out the partners' name, those of you who are here to represent, please stand. The Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Mu Omega Chapter, let's remember stand. The Albany, New York Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Albany District, New York Chapter of the Links Incorporated. League of Women Voters of Albany County. The Capital District Chapter of the National Panhellenic. Council of Albany Neighborhood Associations. Top Ladies of Distinction. Capital Area Urban League. And this is a group, Walkable Albany, Capital Streets, and Bicycle Coalition. These are the partners that put this program together, and the last closing remarks will come from our president from the Albany branch of the NAACP, Deborah Y. Brown.
Good evening. First, I want to thank the candidates. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, your positions, and answering the questions that were posed by the group, as well as those in the audience. I want to thank the audience for being here. I hope you heard something here that resonated with you, that will help you and serve you to decide who you think will best represent the city of Albany as mayor, represent you, your community, your family here. I would also like to thank the sponsors, the partners for supporting this event, for Capitol Rep for allowing us to hold it here. And lastly, not lastly, I always forget this. I want to thank Miss Ivy. Where did Miss Ivy go? Job well done, you and your team. Thank you, as always, as always. But lastly, I do want to say that we know our vote is power. We know what it can do. Those who are here, you understand that. I want to believe that's why you're here. But I know, like all of us, like me, we got a family member, we got a friend, we got a cousin, we got somebody that we either left at home, left in the neighborhood, who's not quite sure yet. I want you to talk to them. I want you to explain to them what is happening. I want you to have that conversation about what they see around the world, what's going on in Washington, okay, is happening here. We are at a crossroads. We are at a situation where we're getting ready to vote on who's gonna lead this community. We can't sit this out. We can't be silent. We can't be quiet. There is nothing, because we will wake up and say, what happened? But it would have already happened. Please, please encourage them. Please, please tell them what's at stake. I heard someone say some of the young people are tired of saying people died for, the right to vote. It's not something we're gonna stop saying, but we have to tell them about the power that they already have. And they need to exercise it. Again, I thank you all for being here. If you're not yet a member of the NAACP, please do so. We have applications, membership forms here, and I thank you. And there's still work to be done. There's still be other activities to get out the vote. So please, I know we will share that information. Other groups will share that information as we go forward, and let's work together collectively to make the change that we want to see here. Thank you.